I think the most important thing is to be intentional, schedule your success, and attack each day with focus. What's going on? You're listening to episode 68 of the Perspective Podcast, and I'm your host, Scotty.D.Russell of Perspective Collective. This show is about carving out time to build something for yourself, and I want to share what is and isn't working for me, along with sharing my guest point of view. And if you're going to crop in a few weeks, and you want to get in on my Crafting a Killer Top workshop, you have to make sure you are purchasing the Friday red ticket, not the normal Friday session, as this is kind of an extra bonus ad, and this is only $35 more, so this is still going to get you access to the whole day of workshops, and more specifically, it's going to get you into our limited seating workshop, and lunch is included in the cost for you. So snag your red ticket for Friday at cropbr.com. Let's just jump right into today's topic. So today is about 5 ways to make time for your creative's hustle and get results. And it's for those who need a little push on making time outside of their daily commitments to pursue work that fires them up. And I would love to hear your feedback on this one, as I try to bring some intensity, and I'm always looking for new ways that I can add to it or polish things up. Or maybe you have some great ideas that can help me within my workflow. You can find the show notes to this episode at perspective-collective.com/68. If you think someone out there can find value in this episode, please give it a share on social media. It's seriously because of people like you and your word of mouth that this show keeps growing, and I love you for it. Finally, if you catch some inspiration from the show, create some work and tag me on Instagram. I'll give it a share, where I post each week's episode artwork along with your artwork at Perspective Podcast on Instagram. Let's get into the show. Are you the type of person who wings shit each day and wonders why you're not making consistent progress? If you are, it's okay, because this used to be me too. Over the last 4 years, I've slowly gotten to the point where I'm able to approach each day with intention, like my homie Tony Diaz mentioned in episode 52. Each day, I feel like I have a focused plan of attack, and I'm always going for the jugular. All right, I'm going for the knockout. Hands down, the biggest question I get asked by people on my newsletter, in the Perspective-Collective Facebook group, emails, or social media is, how do I find balance and make time to work on Perspective Collective with a day job, wife, and other commitments? And soon to be, we have a pizza roll in the oven coming in August. So, I'll have a new challenge of figuring out how to balance my time and make time for this when I have a son or a daughter in my life. So something new coming up. So I can't truly speak to having kids right now, but I can speak to everything else. And by no means am I even remotely close to being an expert at time management and productivity. But I found what works and doesn't work for me. I hope what I share can maybe help you find what works for you, so you can develop your own process. The following are the 5 biggest tips that got me the biggest results in pursuing my side hustle. Number 1 is take one bite at a time. 2, plan your attack. 3, eat the worm. 4, playing Uno. And 5, eliminate distractions. Let's get into this. So number 1, take one bite at a time. Seems like everything revolves around food with me, but when we get started or ambitious to take on a project, it's easy to fall victim to comparison and feel like you're not doing enough when you see someone else crushing it out there in the social media world. Often our ambition is larger than reality, and we think we have to eat a whole pizza in one bite. While it's great you want to start a blog, a vlog, or a podcast and add video to it all at once, I think it's best to just slow your roll. I feel maybe you're biting more than you can chew and setting yourself up for defeat if you're attempting to do all of this outside a day job with possibly a family, significant other, without even having a defined process locked down. A little backstory about me. When I started all of this 4 years ago, it was simply posting drawings consistently on Instagram, okay? Whether it was daily, every other day, easily weekly. And once I locked down that process of when I was going to draw during the day, I slowly took on blogging. And once I locked down the process of blogging and, setting up some type of routine to get this kicked out, then I began to add a newsletter on top of that. 2 years later, I added in the podcast, and somewhere in between all of that, I would take on a little bit of freelance at a time, depending on my open schedule. And sometimes I'm still guilty of biting off more than I can chew, but at least I know that I need to take one bite at a time to get the most results and be my most successful self. So I suggest taking things slow and steady, as you don't have to climb Mount Everest in a day. Start with one bite at a time with realistic expectations, even if it's only 30 minutes to an hour a day. A little bit each day really does add up. And once you lock down your process, begin to take a bigger bite and add the next thing to your plate. Number 2, planning your attack. I've learned the most successful people don't just roll out of bed and shit productivity. They schedule their success. When I stopped winging it and actually planned my daily attack, it made decision-making so much easier. While I still overcommit myself from time to time, saying no is slowly becoming a secret weapon of mine. And now that I'll be having a kid, it's becoming an even more important weapon to have in my arsenal. So how I approach this is Sundays, I jot down in my planner all the tasks I need to get done in the week and when they need completed by. I then prioritize them with the A1 steak sauce method, and I think this is something I got from the Entree Leadership podcast or maybe Dave Ramsey, but I took this concept and I kind of twisted it and made it my own. So for me, the top urgent tasks in a week I need to get done get a ranking of A1 through somewhere like A5. Medium tasks get a ranking of B1 through B5. Low priority tasks that I can push back to the next week or, they're not as urgent, get a rating of C1 through C5. And anything after that would be in like a D category is insignificant to me, and I can eliminate it off the list, okay? It makes decision making so much easier. And throughout the week, I plan that one A category task the night before, which I share later in my weekly routine section. Number 3, eating the worm. And I want you to visualize eating a worm. I'm just kidding, but I've always been a night owl, but waking up early has hands down been the key to my productivity the last few years. The book My Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod is definitely a worthwhile read. I believe in doing the most important task first that will scale my business when I have the most willpower, okay? The most important task first that will scale my business when I have the most willpower. I thought that was necessary to repeat. So what's an important task look like for me? Well, the most important tasks for me that require the most willpower usually revolve around writing or editing for blogs, podcasts, workshops, or speeches. Working a day job and opening myself up to the world's distractions takes a massive, massive toll on my willpower. There's no way in hell I have the focus nor the desire to do my best writing when I punch out from the day job. Okay, I simply don't. I don't have that focus. But when I get up early and eat the worm, that's when things change for me. So it's not always easy. And yeah, it sucked in the beginning trying to build this into my routine. And today it can still be hard. Some days I feel like I just don't get enough sleep. However, the way I approached this was if I got up at 6 a.m. normally to be at work at 7, the next week I started getting up at 5:50, then 5:40, all the way down to where I'm getting up at like 4:30 each day. And this is how I was able to adjust to this new routine. But the most important part was that me working before the world wakes up provides me the best focus so I can devour that A1 task before I had to clock in at 7 a.m. It's like there's no distractions, the world is still sleeping, and I'm up grinding and getting the most important thing done in the day. And that productivity high is addicting and makes getting up earlier easier when you see the progress. Number 4, let's play some Uno. All right, playing Uno is just a fun way of saying focus on doing one thing each day that will help you get the most results. And when you just stare at a massive to-do list that's especially not like prioritized and organized, it's definitely overwhelming and it can paralyze you from taking any action. Okay, again, it's like feeling like you have to climb Mount Everest in a day and you really don't have to. By focusing on doing the one thing, generally the A1 task you planned the night before, it makes things more objective, more manageable, and more achievable, okay? Treat it like a game. And when you knock out that one thing, you will no doubt feel accomplished. If you have leftover margin time aside from life priorities like family and work, you can then proceed to attack your A2 task or begin in your B1 task. I hope that all makes sense. For help on playing Uno, I can't recommend enough reading or listening to the books The One Thing by Gary Keller and Essentialism by George McKeown. These two will definitely help you sort out what's most important to focus on each day. And number 5 is eliminate distractions. It's so easy for us to get distracted as we've become addicted to checking our phones, computers, and TV so we don't miss out on anything and everything, even if it's pointless as shit. When it's grind time though, I personally eliminate all distractions so I can get into the zone. My time is sacred, especially at the day job, freelance, podcasting, relationships. Like, this is my sanctuary when I get into the zone. I need to eliminate everything to be my best. And so starting off, I kill all notifications on my phone in general, except for texts in case of emergency. You do not need social media notifications on your phone, okay? That shit is designed to distract you and to keep you on their platforms and hopefully eventually earn money for them because you're seeing ads, okay? That's totally what social media is. It's a great thing, it's a tool, but that shit is meant to distract you from keeping the main thing the main thing. Please do not forget that. And for me, I always have do not disturb mode set on my phone from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. So nothing fucks with me when I try to wind down at night or when I get up early to eat the worm and play Uno. God, that sounds hilarious, but you get what I mean. I'll even turn on do not disturb mode when I need to practice a speech, record the podcast, or I get lost in a drawing. And I think there's a mode on your phone, like if there was an emergency and someone tries to call you like 3 times or something immediately, then it'll push through as an emergency call. So that's why I do it. And if you're looking for more ways to cut distractions, I highly recommend reading or listening to Deep Work by Cal Newport. All right, let's get into my weekday routine, just so you can kind of see how I approach each day. So 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m., I eat the worm, I play Uno, and I grind before I go to my day job at 7 a.m. At 10 a.m., I have a 10-minute productive burst break at work. You get a 10-minute break. Some people go on walks. Some people just mess around on Facebook. But I'm trying to sketch concepts for episode artwork. I'll either post on social media or I'm making sure I'm responding back to messages, okay? I'm doing things that require little willpower. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., that's my lunch break. And if I didn't finish the A1 task earlier that morning, I will finish it then, or I will attack A2 or B1 tasks. At 3 p.m., I got another 10-minute productive burst break. And again, I'm sketching concepts, I'm posting on social media, or I'm responding to messages. From 4:15 to 5:30, I get off at 4. Right when I get done with work, I dip off to the gym, okay? This, again, is another sanctuary of mine. It's where I get to de-stress from the day. I get to shut out everything from the world. If I had a stressful day at work, whatever it is, or if something's on my mind, I just go and zone out and I throw some weights around because it makes me feel better and it makes me not a dickhead when I come home. From 6 p.m. to 8:30, I focus on low willpower work depending on my wife's schedule. So before I even go to work today, I try to get a feel of what Emily's schedule is at night. You know, does she have anything going on? Is she doing some of her essential oil work? Or is it something we can have dinner and chill together? So I'm always talking to her now. I'm learning my lesson, but I want to make sure we're on the same schedule and have the same expectations. So at night, the work I'm usually doing is low willpower, something like drawing or scheduling social media posts, again, responding to messages, and sometimes I'll edit the podcast. At 9 p.m., okay, the final thing I do in my day is I plan my attack for tomorrow. And I use a law of attraction planner. I'll link it up in the show notes, but I have an affiliate link if that interests you. If not, no worries. I don't care. Any schedule or planner will work for you. But I plan my next tasks for the next day. So I usually can get an A1 task in, and I usually can get a B task in too. So that's how I go about it, but I have to get one thing done a day. It's the one thing that's most important. And I plan it the night before so I can go to bed, kind of marinate on it. And when I wake up, I know exactly what I need to do, okay? There's no guessing, no winging it. So I want to encourage you to find what works for you. Everyone is different and no one's life is the same. Everything I mentioned is what works for me, and I'm always fine-tuning it, and I'm always open to new suggestions. Maybe your willpower is best at night with the type of work you focus on. Whatever, that's totally cool. I'm not telling you have to get up early. I think the most important thing is to be intentional. Schedule your success and attack each day with focus. We need to gut check ourselves and seriously consider how badly do we want to make things happen in our lives. It's possible to make time to work on yourself and your creative dream. Maybe you need to chill on the Netflix binging and mindless hours scrolling through social media. If you're solo dolo in life, there's little to no excuse for finding and making time. However, with a significant other and family, communication is key. And I've learned it's hard for them to support you if you don't. 1, prioritize time with them and the family. 2, communicate what you're trying to accomplish with your goals and when you're trying to do it by. Make sure you're on the same page with expectations. For example, the month of February is crazy for me, and I've had to communicate Emily basically my schedule every day and all the things I need to get done in order to be successful, so she knows what's going on. And 3, include them on the team in pursuit of your dream. Don't keep them in the dark, especially if they don't have a concrete dream of their own. It'll cause tension, okay? Include them in your dream, include them in your vision. And there's probably more, but these are the hard lessons I've learned along the way that can save you a lot of fighting. It's going to take some experimentation, determination, and enthusiasm to figure out what works for you. Remind yourself that this is a marathon. Strap in, buckle down, and enjoy attacking your creative side hustle. You have a lot of cool shit to create and great people to make an impact on ahead of you. So there you have it. Those are the 5 ways that help me make time for Perspective Collective and what helped me get the most results. I really hope this helps you, and I'm thinking about turning this into a lead magnet for people when they join the newsletter team or something, because what I currently have is a little outdated, and I really think this can help people, and maybe I can turn it into a talk. So I would love to hear your feedback on this. Let's move into this week's dose of inspiration. So this one goes to Adam Fujita. That's Adam Fu on Instagram, ADAMFU. And this dude has a raw graffiti style, and he specializes in this neon sign style, which he makes melt and drip to the ground or whatever surface he's created on. It's super trippy. It pops. It has a lot of depth. It's truly unique. And his Instagram has just been popping off since I found him. So check him out at Instagram again over at Adam Fu. That's ADAMFU. Adam Fu, not FU. Okay, you're cool. I like you. Wow, that's funny. All right, if you're enjoying what you hear and you want to support the growth of this show, I have a few ways you can make this happen. The first way is by becoming a backer at patreon.com/perspectivepodcast. Not only can you donate per episode with as little as $1, $3, or $5, but I try to hook you up with some type of rewards instead. And it's because of people like you that you help this podcast keep growing and allow me to bring on help for my sanity. The second way to support the show is for you crypto heads out there. In the show notes for each episode, I'll have addresses for Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Litecoin donations if you prefer to go that route. And finally, you can leave a ratings review over on iTunes. You got to leave the review part. It not only helps the show get discovered, but it gives me an opportunity to give you a nice little thank you plug like this week's rating and review. And even leave the Instagram handle. I'll tag this. This one comes from Jared Eslick, and he titles it as "It's more addicting than any drug." That's cool as hell to hear. Jared says, "I remember finding this podcast around episode 37, and from that point on, I've been hooked. This podcast and Scotty is one of a handful of people that gave me encouragement to get out of my comfort zone and do something radically different. If you would have told me 2 months ago that I would have packed my bags and moved 850 miles from home for an internship at a spot color print shop and scored a freelance gig with a clothing company, aka Mama Sauce is somewhere in there, I would have said you're crazy. So definitely take what this dude has to say to heart, as his passion is addictive and just gets you amped up and ready to go with something with your life. Thank you so much, Jared. That means a lot, and I hope you're killing it at Mama Sauce. So shout out to Tim Styles and Nick Sambrato over there. And as I wrap things up, I need to give a huge thank you to Áine Brennan for making this episode sound so good. And a huge thanks to Nick Jenkins of Blookah for all the theme music you hear on the show. Check them out at SoundCloud or Instagram at Blookah. That's BLOOKAH. And as you finish your week off strong, I want to encourage you to keep showing up, keep putting in the work, and keep creating. You got this.